that lifestyle will 100% lead to some type of physical ailment. 100%. There's not any world that we live in that living that lifestyle will not lead to illness or injury. Our bodies are not meant to be sedentary. They are meant to be in motion.
What is a controversial or unpopular opinion you have about health and wellness that most people in the medical industry won't say it loud?
High cholesterol does not necessarily mean something bad for your health. That is not entirely true. There's so much more nuance to that conversation. The equation has not changed in 100 years. It has not changed. Move your body, get good rest, eat right.
If you have been living in chronic back pain, you have tight shoulder, or you have pain in your knees, and doctor told you that here's some ibuprofen, take the painkillers and go about your day. You feel like, oh, maybe I'm getting old. This is what it is. Today, we have a very, very special guest who has been serving Sacramento community for more than 20 years. He has some special techniques. One of the technique is myofascial treatment, expert in pain management and chiropractic treatment. He's going to share how Sacramento community can get better and take care of their health and wellness. So let's welcome Dr. Rayman to the Sacramento Seat.
Thank you for having me, Naeem.
A pleasure.
So I think the first thing that you mentioned is unfortunately the reliance that people feel on painkillers, right? There is definitely a time and a place for medication, right? However, what I find is, unfortunately, that should be a last resort as opposed to the first thing that you go to. And so one of the things that I'm very passionate about is helping people to understand that there are other options, right? It does not just have to be this reliance on big pharma, and that by helping people make better choices, they can have a much better experience in life, whether that is reduced pain, whether that is improved quality of life. But helping people make better choices is critical for what I try to help my patients with.
I'm curious, Dr. Rayman, there are so many medical field segment. You could be doctor of anything, right? I'm just curious, why chiropractic?
Great question. So this kind of goes back to my origin story, right? So I was attending university. I'm from Canada, Toronto specifically, and I was attending university in the province to the east of us in Quebec, and I was strong in the sciences, right? That's always been a gift of mine, the maths and the sciences. So I was pursuing biology, didn't quite know what I was going to do with that. During my summers, I had a job working for Coca-Cola, and I was driving trucks and filling up what they call full service vending. So the machines that you see that you put your money in, you get a Coca-Cola, I was responsible for filling those machines. Now at the time, I was also playing football for the university, so I was in fairly good shape. And so I'm working this job, and I start to develop this back pain. Like, this is strange, right? Strange sensation. I think I'm physically fit. I'm not injured myself. There's been zero major trauma that has occurred. So a friend of mine, she recommended that I go see a chiropractor. And I'd never been to a chiropractor before in my life. I didn't know much about chiropractic. It's not something that was talked about in my household. None of my family members have been to a chiropractor before. But I was open, so I went and saw this lady, Dr. Mancini, and she is a 5 foot petite woman. And she started working with me and she started adjusting my spine and I felt better. Okay, this is kind of cool. But what she did that was by far the most important thing that she did was she educated me on what chiropractic is all about. And chiropractic is about allowing the body's natural, innate ability to heal itself, right? And the analogy that I like to use is, let's say right now I happen to cut my finger, right? I just catch it on something and it cuts. Without me having to think at all, the blood will stop flowing, a scab will form, that scab will fall off, new skin will be underneath that scab, my finger will have healed. At no point did I have to think about that. At no point did I need to add any medication or drugs or surgery to my finger whatsoever. The body healed itself. And that internal innate intelligence is what chiropractic works with. So my job as a chiropractor is to allow the body to heal on its own. We call that healing from the inside out. So Dr. Mancini started to talk to me about chiropractic and the philosophy behind chiropractic that I just shared with you. And what I realized is that a manner in which I'd been living my life already coincided with this philosophy of chiropractic. So what I mean by that is I wasn't one, I get a headache, I'm not going to take a Tylenol. I'm going to go rest. I feel ill, I'm not going to run to the medical doctor right away. I'm going to just see what my body can do to try and heal it on its own. So this manner in which I had just innately been living my life coincided with this profession. It's like, oh, that's fascinating. Well, this is what I was meant to do. So I finished up my studies at university and moved out to California and started chiropractic school. And that's how I got here. So the question you asked me is why chiropractic? And the answer is because that is what resonates most with me. And it is what I believe in my core, that we all have the ability to heal ourselves if we just get out of our own way.
Wow, that's quite a story, Dr. Rayman. So you were suffering from back pain because you were driving truck for a company. Mm-hmm. And then you went to see a chiropractor because your friend recommended if you're suffering from back pain, that please go see a chiropractor. And once you go there, and she enlightened you how our natural body form works. If I heard you right, that if we get a cut, then without thinking anything, we don't have to stop the bleeding, it will heal itself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's what we call innate intelligence, right? So the thing that I recognized while I was in chiropractic school was all this information that I'm learning. I'm learning all these fascinating things about the body, about how it heals, about how it works, the physiology behind it, why things happen, how to influence them. And I realized, or I thought, that if more people knew this information, they would be empowered to make better choices. Right? Unfortunately, what I found in the real world is, yes, there are some that when they are given the information and it's explained in a manner that they can digest and relate to, they will pivot and make better choices. And of course, their health improves. But unfortunately, we are in a society and we are of a culture and we are of a species that we are lazy. We are a lazy species, and we are trying to conserve energy as much as possible. And so doing the things that are going to benefit us are difficult. This is not easy, right? It's not easy to go run a mile. It's not easy to choose to make your own dinner as opposed to going out and eating, right? But if we make these types of choices, it will affect our quality of life and our health span much more, versus if we make these other types of choices, we're only going to lead to illness and possibly death.
Can you give me like a few example of like what you mean by that? Tell me more about
Sure.
this.
So, for example, it is well known that getting sunlight on your body first thing in the morning, early morning sunlight on your body and getting your eyes exposed to that is extremely beneficial for our health. It helps to regulate something called our circadian rhythm. Our circadian rhythm is our body's internal clock, and it is setting the rhythm of everything that happens in our body, all the different processes, all the different physiological things that are happening. Our circadian rhythm is the master timekeeper for all of those things. An example of that is there's a hormone called cortisol. You may have heard of cortisol. It gets a bad rap often because too much cortisol in the body leads to problems. Too little leads to problems. But there's a rhythm to cortisol, right? It should spike in the morning. It decreases over as the day goes on. That rhythm is governed by something called the circadian rhythm, all right? So it is well known that getting early morning sunlight on our body, looking at the sky, is phenomenal for that. How many of us are willing to get up at the appropriate time in order to do that? How many of us are, instead of when we get up, we are doing some form of movement? How many of us are looking at our phone, which is destroying any benefits that we may have had from early morning sunlight, right? So that's an example of the more challenging thing to do is to get up earlier in the morning and get outside. Another example, it is our bodies are made up of water, 70% water. How many of us are adequately hydrating on a daily basis? How many of us are choosing sugary drinks, pre-workout, energy drinks, coffee as our liquids of choice because they taste better, all right? Simple decisions, simple choices can have incredible effects on the body, all right? So water, it's another one. Movement. I am a champion of movement. I recommend it for all patients that come to the office. It is one of the pillars of health, bar none. And to convince somebody to take a 10-minute walk once a day can be like pulling teeth. 10 minutes of your time going on a walk, which is not vigorous by any means or physically demanding. That in and of itself will drastically affect your health in a positive manner. How many of us do that? Right? So it's these types of things that I try to share with people to encourage them, right? There's a fine balance that I continue to evolve, where it is guilt and shame are very, very interesting motivators, right? They're very interesting motivators. So I like to have fun. I like to have fun in the office. It is a positive environment because I am a firm believer that positivity and laughter are also critical for healing. Right? But there's a time for laughter and there's a time for seriousness. And so there's this dance of we can have fun. It's all great. But like when it's time to do work, we're going to do some work. Right? And that motivation strategy or that motivation tactic, I utilize at times a little guilt, a little shame. Like you tell me you can't walk 10 minutes a day. Come on. Right. Like that type of strategy. And it can be useful. And it is incredible to watch somebody who has been in a state of health for years, they've been in a certain state of health with symptoms, and their quality of life is terrible. And implementing some of the strategies that I suggest to them, and them actually doing it, watching them evolve, right, into something that they never thought was possible. That's rewarding. Very, very rewarding.
Well, thank you so much for enlightening us, giving us some real life examples. So I'd like to ask some follow-up question. So when you mention about getting up early in the morning, making sure that the circadian rhythm, we are syncing up our body with the sunlight, and also the cortisol level create a lot of impact in our human body. So when you say early in the morning, that's like being a normal person, because without the medical jargon, like what time is ideal? Is it we have to get up like with the sunrise, or like is there any specific time frame for regular people?
Sure.
Like,
absolutely. Sunrise is the time that we're going to utilize, trying to expose your body to sunlight within 2 hours of sunrise.
okay.
Okay? Within 2 hours of sunrise, getting outside. So this is not, the benefits significantly drop off if you are inside. What do I mean by that? Let's say you wake up, your morning routine, you go make yourself a coffee, and you sit at your kitchen nook. Let's say you have a beautiful window, bay window, you can sit there, right? And the sun is on you. Unfortunately, the glass is going to reduce the effectiveness of what we're trying to accomplish. So getting outside is a critical piece to this, okay? So within 2 hours of sunrise, getting outside. And when you're outside, another little hack is you should be focusing on different depths. What do I mean by that? Right now, I'm focusing on right here. Now I'm focusing on you. Now I'm focusing on the leaf back there. Now I'm focusing on this thing down here, right? So changing the depth that you are looking at when you are outside is a useful health hack to improve eye health, right? And it can help to reduce the probability of needing some type of eyewear or something like that, right? So how many of us spend our life, generally, we'll say our adult life, generally only looking 1 to 6 feet in front of us? Right? Think about our culture. Our culture is computer screens. Our culture is phones. Our culture is driving. And each one of those 3 activities, the distance that we need to look is not that far. It's not that far. So it is rare in our culture, I would argue, that we are looking off into the distance. Right? So helping by doing that, by looking into the distance, by changing the depth of things that we're looking at, can improve our overall eyesight. Okay? You asked about cortisol levels. So cortisol gets a bad rap because cortisol in excess amounts depresses our immune system. Okay? So this is why the classic analogy of when we're stressed, our cortisol levels are very high. All right. So one of the things, cortisol does many things, but one of the things it does is it regulates our blood sugar levels. Okay. When we are super stressed, we got to get this podcast out. I got this deadline at work. I got 100 patients coming in today. Whatever it might be, right? Whenever we're in a highly stressed state, we tend to cortisol is elevated. Right? If you recall a time in your life when you were very stressed out and you got to the end of that period of time, I would argue that there was a probability that you might have gotten sick, right? You might have gotten ill. You had a huge exam test during school, you had finals, right? And then all of a sudden you get sick afterwards. The reason that is because cortisol being elevated for so long has depressed our immune system, and we're now more susceptible to viruses, illnesses. Right? That's why if we can maintain a healthy circadian rhythm, then it helps to not have those cortisol spikes as much, which makes us less susceptible to illness and injury. Okay? So these are the types of things I like to share with people. And that comes all the way back to when I was in school, like we were talking about, learning these things and wanting to share these things with people, because I don't think that the average person understands these things or even knows these things. And if they did, I truly believe they would make better choices. They'd be more informed. And that's kind of like the reason or the rationale behind the did you knows that I do, right? It is here is a snippet of some piece of information that I don't think you necessarily would have known, but now that you know this information, you can't claim ignorance. Can't claim you don't know anymore. Now you at least know. Now it's sparked some curiosity, and if you decide to explore it further, fantastic. You don't, fantastic. But at least the information is getting out there.
Yeah, that is very important what you just enlightened us, right? Like about getting up early in the morning, making sure that you're syncing up with the circadian rhythm, and also making sure that one of the components, do not drink sugary drink first thing in the morning. Because we love Starbucks.
Of course.
We love Dutch Bros. Get the pump and energy going. But it's having a very negative impact on our cortisol level, right?
Absolutely.
In the blood sugar level or A1C.
Mm-hmm. The other thing, we all are looking for the quick fix. We're looking for the quick fix, right? I need that shot of espresso. I need to go now. I need to go now. And if you want a quick fix, you want to get going in the morning, you get up and you do some vigorous exercise, right? And I'm not even talking about an hour. If an individual got up in the morning and they did 20 jumping jacks, they did 20 high knees, they did 2 push-ups, enough to get your heart going. That intense exercise, I'll use air quotes, intense exercise will spark something called BDNF, which is brain-derived neurotrophic factor. That is, it is 91 fuel octane for the brain. That's what it is, BDNF, okay? And when we have elevated levels of BDNF, our brain, our creativity increases, our energy level increases. So instead of driving your car to Starbucks to get the coffee with the extra shot, to put the extra whipped cream on it, that's going to take 15 minutes. Hey, let me get up in the morning, move my body in a vigorous manner. I'm going to feel the same exact effects.
So Dr. Rayman, if I heard you right, you're saying that instead of getting up in the morning, getting into my car, driving 5, 10, or 15 minutes to my favorite Starbucks or Dutch Bros, and spending $10 to $15 on a sugary, highly caffeinated drink, if I spend at least 10 to 15 minutes home doing jumping jacks or doing some push-ups or just a little bit of running around the block, it will have more positive impact in our body and energy compared to having caffeinated drinks.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Movement is life. Period. Movement is life. Our bodies are not meant to be sedentary. They are not. They are meant to be in motion. Another critical thing that I try to share with the community is if you have a desk job, okay? Let's say that you work at the state, you have a hybrid, you work from home, you have to go into the office 2-3 days a week, what have you. If you are working from home and your existence is I wake up, I go downstairs, I turn on the computer, I go get myself a cup of coffee, I sit down at the computer, I sit there for 3-4 hours, I get up, I go grab a toast, something, I make myself maybe a little lunch, I come back to the computer, I sit at my desk, at my computer, eating my lunch while I'm still working, I finish the work day, I then go from my computer onto my couch. I turn on the television. I watch Love Island or whatever I'm going to watch, right? And I watch 4 hours of television. It's now 11 o'clock. I've scrolled on my phone. I take a shower. I go to bed. Haven't left the house once and have sat for the majority of the day. That is not what our bodies were meant to do. And that lifestyle will 100% lead to some type of physical ailment. 100%. There's not any world that we live in that living that lifestyle will not lead to illness or injury. Period. All right? Facts. So if that's the case, if we know for a fact that that lifestyle is not conducive to health, why do we do it? Why do we do it? It is just the habits and the convenience that people get into. Our bodies are meant to be in motion. We should be moving our body every 45 to 60 minutes, except if we're sleeping. 45 to 60 minutes. I tell my patients, okay, so you go into the office, you have to work, great. Every 45 minutes, you're going to get up, you're going to go get a glass of water. So go get a glass of water, go get a sip of water, come back. The breaks that I'm talking about that people need to move are not, I'm not asking for 15, 20, 30 minutes. I'm talking about just change your position. If you have the ability to have a sit-stand desk, right? These are things that my patients say, oh yeah, no, my work is going to provide me one. That's fantastic. But you got to use it. You got to use it, right? And so that's number one. And then number two, they often think that sitting for half the day and then standing for half the day is ideal. And I applaud them for that. But ultimately, it is the frequency of changing position. Sit for an hour, stand for an hour. Sit for an hour, stand for an hour, right? So, and the reason motion is life, one of the reasons, is because the joints of our body, I'll just use the joints, but we can talk about other things. The joints of the body require motion in order to be lubricated. If we do not move our arm, then it will become stiff. If you have you ever broken a bone in your body?
No, but I have severe back pain, sciatica pain.
Holla at your boy, man. Holla at your What are we talking about here? So, if you had broken a bone, let's say you broke your arm. Okay, so you broke your arm, you're going to put a cast on your arm. And your arm is going to be in that cast for 6 to 8 weeks. When that cast gets removed, do you think that your arm is going to be very flexible? You're going to feel great? No, it's going to be very stiff. And you're probably going to have to do some type of physical therapy or occupational therapy in order to start to restore the proper range of motion. The reason that is the brain is brilliant. And it is all about conservation of energy. This is why if we don't use it, we lose it. Right? Period for the body. That is cognitively, that is physically. If we do not use it, we will lose it. And so when we are not moving our arm, the brain says, oh, you know what? I do not need to send energy. I don't need to put energies towards the muscles of the arm, the ligaments and the tendons of the arm. We're going to keep them in this position because there's no motion happening. That's why when you take the cast off, it will be very stiff. And then as we start to move the arm again, the brain says, oh, okay, gotcha. We're actually going to use this thing again. Let's start to send energy that way. So when we are not moving frequently, the brain shunts energy to different processes. And so therefore, back pain. If you are sitting for the majority of the day, then there's not any motion in your joints. Those joints are not going to be lubricated and you're going to feel more pain. The brain is saying, oh, okay, this is an area that does not need to have motion. Therefore, let's just stabilize it. Let's keep it as stiff as possible. Okay. It is paramount for us to be moving our bodies frequently throughout the day, period.
I love the quote, Dr. Rayman. You said that movement is life. Motion is life. If our community, Sacramentinian people living in Sacramento, they just live by this motto that movement is life. Motion is life. You think it's going to have a really great positive impact on health and wellness?
Absolutely. One thing I've seen, being in the Midtown area, is the infrastructure that has developed over the past 5 to 10 years around a more active culture, right? Dedicated bike lanes, one-way traffic, slowing car traffic down. I think that having access to the American River and the Parkway, that is phenomenal. Sacramento and the greater Sacramento area has a plethora of infrastructure for outdoor activities. And one of the things about Sacramento is that we have a fantastic weather pattern, right? Like the sun is in the sky March, April until November, December, right? So it's pleasant. And so having the infrastructure for outdoor lifestyle is critical, and it exists. It exists. I think that, unfortunately, there aren't enough, the information isn't disseminated to all. And what I mean by that is it's going to require some effort on somebody to seek the information out, right? If I've never been a stand-up paddleboarder, let's say I've never been on a paddleboard before, but I maybe want to do that. Maybe I've heard about it. It's going to be on me to have to go to REI or look on the City of Sacramento website to see if they offer paddleboard classes. Then you'll probably learn about Lake Natoma. Then you'll learn that they have classes over there, that they offer these things, right? So like we unfortunately want things to be done for us. We want the magic bullet, the magic pill, sorry. We want to be told, go do this right now, right? And there needs to be some active participation. There needs to be some ownness on self, right? On self in order to, for one's own health. I think that's also something that I'm very passionate about, is when people come into the office, the relationship begins as a passive one, right? What that means is you have back pain, you come to the office, I am going to help you with that back pain, and I'll start to do my thing, right? One of the techniques that I use, in addition to the chiropractic adjustments, is something called myofascial technique, right? Which is designed to target the scar tissue surrounding the vertebrae, which the adjustments will help to restore the proper alignment and motion and restore the proper communication in the nervous system. And the myofascial technique is designed to break up the scar tissue to allow the body to move more freely, right? So that's all that work is done by me, right? So that's passive. Once we get to a stage where I can see that your body is ready for more, now I'm going to start to pass on some responsibility to you. Now there are going to be things that I'm going to demand from you to do at home, outside of the office, because it does not matter how good I am at what I do. If I'm only seeing you once a week or once a month, that small period of time is not going to influence what happens outside of my office. So there has to be some decision made by you, by the patient, that I want to change. I want to improve my health. And if that decision is not made, then you're going to stay on this hamster wheel constantly, just staying on that. And that's unfortunately what I see day in and day out. are people that aren't necessarily wanting to take responsibility for their own health. And I love them. Look, I'm going to love them regardless, right? Regardless, there's no judgment. There's no judgment. We are all human, and we all have life to live, right? That's just the nature of the beast. If you can make one choice per day that is pro health, I think I've done my job. If you can decide today, I am going to walk 15 minutes. Cool. Maybe not have to do it tomorrow, but just choose today. Just choose today to do that one thing. Today, I'm going to not get that Starbucks. I'm going to get a water. Great. Today, I am going to not go to Chipotle. I am going to go to the grocery store and buy some chicken and cook it. All right, so it's not that I'm asking people to make drastic life changes, because that's not sustainable. Period. Like that's I've witnessed. Like we need to meet people where they're at, and then slowly help them to recognize how they can make better choices. That's really my platform, is try to find something that I can relate with an individual, meet them at their point, and then show them, oh, no, but have you thought about this? Oh, no? Okay, well, why don't you try that out? See how you feel. And what I found is that positivity begets positivity begets positivity. What I mean by that is, as you make a change and you see the results of that change, and those results are positive, you're going to want to continue doing that thing because, I feel better. I feel better, right? So if we can create this rhythm, we can create this strategy and these patterns, and we can layer these habits on one another, where you came into the office and now where you are now are two completely different things. And that's a beautiful thing to watch.
To me, Dr. Rayman, it's not just a doctor, like a DC chiropractic care, right? I feel like you are a health and wellness coach. The amount of wisdom and insightful ideas you have shared with us is incredible.
Thank you. I learned one of the first things one of my professors said in chiropractic school was the definition of doctor is teacher. And we are here to educate. And I take that responsibility very seriously, right? If the name of my practice is Keystone Chiropractic, and the reason that is Keystone is that my brother actually is the reason behind this. And my brother said, Anthony, do you know what a keystone is in architectural terms? I said, no. He says, in an arch, there is one stone, the keystone, that if you remove that, then the arch cannot sustain itself. Right? And so my philosophy with the spine is that if there is a bone that is out of alignment, that can have deleterious effects systemically in the body. Okay. And we get into that about the nervous system shortly, but the reason that I am so passionate about sharing information with people is you never know what the ripples are going to be like. So my original iteration of the logo for Keystone Chiropractic, the O in Keystone was an object, a spherical object, and it had these circles around it, if you will, that was supposed to represent the ripples. Because when I have sitting down with you right now and having this conversation, if one person watches this and that one person says to themselves, you know what, I'm gonna go take a walk, I have made a change. And that's what I mean by the ripples. When you toss a stone into a body of water, the ripples that go out, we don't know how those ripples are going to interact and how that's going to change ultimately our community. And if I can be the stone that starts those ripples, and when you leave my office or you leave my presence and you have a different mindset or you are vibrating with a different energy, that is a positive one, that is a health-focused one, I've done my job.
That's very profound and impactful, the meaning of Keystone. Like thinking about it now, I'll be honest with you, I have a little goosebump right now. Like the ripple and the stone. Like, as you said, maybe if I can change just one person's life, the message and insight I'm sharing with our community, that's a win. And that's the philosophy I believe in too. Because I work with unhoused community members. I feel like maybe I want to change the world, but it's not possible for me by myself, right? But for me, I cannot change the whole world. But if I can change one person's life, that means the whole world to them. So
Absolutely.
your message about Keystone and the ripple effect is deeply resonating with my vision and philosophy. And thank you for sharing that, the brand behind Keystone, how it was incorporated.
Yes.
A young man, all the way from Ontario, Canada, Toronto, right? And he used to suffer from back pain. Then he got chiropractic treatment. Later on, he got better. He felt better. I said, why not I choose this career so that I can change other people's life as well? So back to that, you started Keystone Chiropractic in Midtown in 2005.
2005, January 2005.
And
yes.
please tell us about the story. When you started in Midtown 2005 January, it was you and one staff member.
Correct.
And you were doing everything, and your staff calling all the patients manually and making sure that you are doing your best for the community to provide the best service possible, right? On that time, how did you feel like changing from one country to another and starting everything from scratch in a fresh ground level, right? How it was for you on that time? How did you feel? And looking forward to 20 years now, if you go back.
So the how I made my way to Sacramento, I did my chiropractic education in the Bay Area in Hayward, Life Chiropractic College West, and neighbors of mine when I was at school that more or less have become family. They are family. They moved to Elk Grove. I moved to Elk Grove. So this was now my last year of chiropractic school. I helped them with the move. I came up to Elk Grove. I checked out Sacramento, and I said, well, this is a community that I can get involved with. You know, this is, again, 2004. At that time, there were a lot of people migrating from the Bay Area up to Sacramento. And so at that time, I knew that I was going to open up my own practice. I did not want to work for anybody. I had a vision. And in order to do the work that was necessary to start my own practice, I would need to be in a close enough proximity while still in school to do the necessary market research, to meet the necessary people, to set up the networking that needed to happen, right? So Sacramento checked a lot of boxes. So I made the move, came to Sacramento, and how I built Keystone was through community events. So you talk about the community. I have been with my 10 by 10 pop-up tent, spending weekends at every fair you can think of. Any fair you can think of, Southland Park, in Oak Park, in McClatchy, at the Cal Expo. Like I have put the hours in and talked to the people. And what my message was every time I was out there, first and foremost, when's the last time you had your spine checked? All right. So spine checked. What do you mean when's the last time you had spine checked? I've never had my spine checked. Well, that's a problem. So the reason that chiropractic works is because chiropractic is designed to influence the nervous system. Okay? The nervous system is the master system of the body. That's again a fact. We cannot live if our brain is not working. All right. So the nervous system is our brain, our spinal cord, and then we have nerves that come out like branches on a tree. All right. And those nerves go everywhere in the body, and they're controlling everything in the body. Right now, your stomach is extracting nutrients from a meal that you had earlier today. It's getting rid of waste products into your small, large intestine. Your bladder's getting filled from liquids that you drank. Your lungs are moving to get oxygen to your body. Your brain is processing what I'm saying right now. All of these things are happening automatically, and that is being governed by the nervous system. Okay? Chiropractic works with the nervous system via the spine. When the spine is out of alignment, it creates irritation or inflammation in the spine and in the surrounding tissues. What are those surrounding tissues? The nerves. So if you have a bone that is out of alignment in your neck, that can lead to headaches, dizziness, migraines. If you have a bone that is out of alignment in your lower back, that can lead to low back pain, but it also can lead to constipation, diarrhea, pins and needles in your feet, bladder issues. So when the spine gets adjusted back to its proper alignment, the nervous system can communicate effectively, and then the body can heal itself, going all the way back to innate intelligence like we talked about, right? When the spine is out of alignment, there is static or distortion within the nervous system. That static or distortion leads to dis-ease or just a lack of efficiency in our nervous system, and that leads to symptoms. Right? So the message from the very beginning, prior to Motion is Life, prior to Make Better Choices, the message is you can do all the right things, but if your spine and your nervous system are not in alignment and working as they should, your body is functioning with less. So it is critical to get that baseline level of health. Make sure that I can check those boxes. The nervous system is working efficiently. The spine is in proper alignment. Cool. Check those. Now let's move on to the other choices that we can make. So at these external marketing events, it was all about sharing that, checking people's spines of all walks of life, right? And that's also what I am very proud of, is at any given moment in time in my office, you can have people that are living out of their car to millionaires at any given moment in time. And so having these different demographics under one roof, all there for the same thing, that's how I'm impacting the community.
That's very powerful story, Dr. Rayman. I really appreciate sharing your journey starting from 2005 until today. So the younger self, when you started in 2005 and now we are looking at 2026, what one lesson you learned the hard way? If you knew these things back on that time, how would you do differently?
What I would tell my younger self, stay hungry, and it is not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. What would I change? It's a very good question. What would I change? Not much. My message has been consistent from day one. Move your body, get your spine checked, get adjusted. I think if I were to go back, I would tell myself to super specialize. That's what I would do. I would tell myself, Anthony, you need to be the big toe, right foot specialist. What I mean by that is if I would have super specialized in a thing, then that would have positioned myself as the expert in that thing. And currently, over the years, I have positioned myself as an expert in motion, right? And in health. But that, from a business standpoint, does not translate to bodies in the door. Right? What I would tell myself is, Anthony, super specialize in shoulder impingement, for example. Okay, shoulder impingement. And connect with other health professionals in the community to let them know that this is your specialty, and have them refer all of their patients that they have shoulder impingement issues to you. Because here's the thing. Just because somebody's coming to me for shoulder impingement does not mean that I'm not going to check their entire spine. And they're still going to receive full spine, top tier chiropractic care. But the door that they've come through is shoulder impingement. And so once the awareness that Dr. Rayman is a shoulder specialist, well, now that's from Sacramento, then that grows to Northern California, then that grows to California, then that grows to nationwide, right? So it's much easier to build a practice, or a business rather, when you super specialize in the thing and become known as the expert in that thing. So that would be what I would go back and tell my younger self.
You have changed a lot of people's lives more than you know. So I was going through some of the reviews you had, that one of the person is Travis. He's a motorist, and he's in his 50s. He greatly appreciate and very, very thankful to you. The reason he's still active, doing dirt bikes and doing sports, all the kudos to you. So how do you feel about that?
You know, it is an honor to work with everybody that I work with. I tell people this. I get more out of the relationships that I've built with my patients than they get from me. I stand by that. The trust that somebody puts in me to help them along their health journey is special, and I recognize that, and I treat everybody that comes into my office as I would treat a family member, and that's all I know. That's all I know, and that's all I'm ever going to do.
There's another example. There's a lady who had work injury, broke their spine, I think some L3, 5, or 6, and also had knee surgery and problem with toes. And after 10 years of surgery, living in suffering and pain, she came to you and you changed her life. And she's very grateful, forever grateful to you. And it's a public information. Stories like Travis, and I believe that patient name was probably Lisa. How do you feel about having a positive impact in our community like this?
I never got into this thing for the accolades, right? I got into this thing to change the community. One person, one patient at a time. And it's a blessing that I've been able to, over the past 2+ decades, to help as many people that I have. And we're still getting going, man. We're still getting going.
If you feel comfortable about sharing back in the early days when you started your business, how was your business? And did you feel like any moment that, is it going to work out? Or is it for me? Or is there a moment that you were really stressed or things are not working the way you expected?
Absolutely. The doubt, the imposter syndrome is real. There years I lived in imposter syndrome. And I would be lying to you if I still at times don't have imposter syndrome. Did I do the right thing? Am I really, do I know what I'm doing? Should I be doing this? Would it have been easier if I just got a job? Blah, 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 blah. All of that. And it's not, it was by no means a linear path, right? It was not. As I said, I would tell my younger self, this is going to be hard. You're going to need some tough skin. You're going to need to persevere. There's going to be dark times where you're questioning, why did I do this? Am I going to be able to pay my bills this month? All of that, right? And that's where the grit, the perseverance, but also the habits, right? If I did not have the habits in place that I do with movement, with affirmations, with mentors, with coaching, if I didn't have those types of things, I would have folded. All right. So it is where I am at today is we're talking 20 plus years of life, right? And for any of us that have lived any portion of life can beat us down sometimes. But the lows are what ultimately allow me to be a better doctor, because it allows me to empathize and understand much better what other people are going through, right? It makes me much more able to relate to other people. And so you can't have the good without the bad. Can't have it. The bad sucks, but it is necessary. Absolutely necessary.
What is a controversial or unpopular opinion you have about health and wellness that most people in the medical industry won't say it loud?
High cholesterol does not necessarily mean something bad for your health. We are inundated with information that leads us to believe that elevated cholesterol leads to cardiovascular events. Okay? That is not entirely true. There's so much more nuance to that conversation. Okay? And to blindly state that elevated cholesterol leads to a cardiovascular event, and therefore you should be put on some type of medication to reduce your cholesterol level, that is incorrect. Granted, when you go through an individual's labs and you run through the numbers, they very well may need to be on medication. But as a blanket statement that just because one has elevated cholesterol, they should be on some drug, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And it's things like this. It's things like this that if I can have somebody question things. Wait, what? My cholesterol's elevated and I'm on this medication, but wait, should I be on this medication? I don't know. Should you? Why don't you have this conversation with your medical doctor? Here are some facts. Here are some ratios that you should pay attention to. Not just HDL, LDL, triglycerides. What's the relationship between these things? Okay. And unfortunately, there aren't enough conversations happening between patients and doctors about the meaning behind the numbers. the meaning behind the labs, the meaning behind what test, whatever it might be, right? You have elevated cholesterol, bad. You have arthritis in your spine, bad. Like there's diagnoses one has to be careful with, because people can become their diagnosis. I have low back pain. It defines me. I cannot behave in a certain manner. I can't do these things because of my back pain. If there are ulterior ways to deal with issues, why not explore those things? And I think the answer to that question, one of the answers to that question, is it's because people don't know there are other options.
I 100% agree with you, because I'm a big fan of Dr. Andrew Huberman and also Dr. Peter Attia.
Excellent.
And as you know, that we put a level on HDL, good cholesterol, LDL, bad cholesterol is high, so we have to be on a statin, right? Or whatever the medication call. And according to them, and I'm sure you will agree with that too, that we have to check our ApoB, exactly what's happening inside our body, not just LDL is high and put a bad label, oh, maybe I'm doing something wrong. And without having the medication, as you mentioned, that having proper movement of life, having clean diet, and also, just doing the right thing. As you shared a lot of insightful ideas to execute, like just 10 minutes, 15 minutes walking or push-up or burpees at home.
Easy. The equation has not changed in 100 years. It has not changed. Move your body, get good rest, eat right. That's it. You can try and get all type of research and all different types of information to tweak it and nuance it and optimize it. The bottom of it, look, move your body, eat right, and get enough rest. That's all you need to do. That's it. And you will heal the majority of issues in the body. But how many of us are going to do that?
As you said earlier, as being a species of who we are lazy creature.
We are. We want the easy. We want the easy. We
Done
want it,
for you. Everything in silver platter.
Yes. And that's unfortunate.
I'm curious that what is one of the most misconception and that really frustrates you about chiropractic, what people think about chiropractic care?
That has evolved. If you asked me this question 20 years ago, I would say that the misconception is that chiropractors are witch doctors. Okay, they are charlatans. They are snake oil salesmen, right? Right. We're just there's nothing. It doesn't work. Right. I've been to a chiropractor once and they hurt me, right? So they don't know what they're doing. So that would be before 20 years ago. With the advent of social media, I would say the misconception now is I need one adjustment. That's it. Meaning one adjustment is all I'm going to need. That's going to take care of everything. I just need to go to the chiropractor, get adjusted once, and I'll be pain-free. And unfortunately, it has taken some period of time to get into the current state of health that you are in. It's going to require at least that same amount of time to get back to a state of ease. And so having those conversations with patients and trying to share with them that, I know you saw on social media this person doing an adjustment and the person jumped up and, oh, I feel great. Well, that's not reality.
Wow.
Yeah.
So if I heard you right, you think a lot of social media videos are not really just making just like a vague high level videos people make and just deceive people.
No, I don't think there's any nefarious intentions behind it. I think that social media has done an excellent job of raising awareness of chiropractic. Right?
Okay.
However, what it has also done is it has emboldened the patient to think that they require that one, they require it, that two, it is appropriate for them, and three, that all they need is one of that thing, and that thing being the adjustment. Right? So over the past 2 decades, it's been an interesting shift of now people are coming into the office not afraid of chiropractic, but wanting chiropractic, but wanting it based upon what they think chiropractic is, which is some crazy cracking and getting off the table and feeling like you can walk on water. That's just not the case.
Thank you for sharing that. Someone is watching this podcast right now and they have been suffering from lower back pain and neck pain or knee pain or arthritis issues watching this right now. And they're thinking that this is normal. I'm getting old, or maybe I have to accept this. What is one message you have for the audience?
Take responsibility for your own health and seek out answers and professionals that will empower you and that will help you along your health goals. The current state of existence that you are in does not need to be this way. There is a better way of living.
If anyone would like to get any treatment from you, how they can get better, what are the ways they can communicate with you or reach out to you?
Yeah, easiest, you can find me on Instagram at Dr. Anthony Rayman. Otherwise, the office phone number, 916-452-5055, or just find me online, sacramentochiro.com.